Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Try New Things, where today we're going to start work on a fire extinguisher. And as you can see, it's a fairly large one. I was lent this from a friend of mine in the Military Vehicle Preservation Association club that I'm part of. It's the Louisville chapter, and it's called Kilroy. And he lent me this and left it in my care to get it cleaned up and fixed up for him and his family. It's been in their family for many years, and he was very much interested in getting it dressed up and looking nice and represent it back to his family. So I promised him I would take a shot at it and see what we could do. A lot larger than I thought it would be when he reached out to me, but I'm up for the challenge. So the first thing we're going to do is take it apart, but I'm a little concerned, not sure what all this is. Fortunately, it flaking off. I thought it might have been some sort of paint. I don't know if it's wax. It doesn't feel like wax. But anyway, that should come off all right. We'll polish this up, get it nice and shiny. Don't know yet if I'm going to repaint the top red or just polish that one up. And then I'm on the lookout for a replacement hose. This one is extremely brittle, and if I tried to bend it, it would for sure break, so I want to replace that for him as well. But yeah, this is going to be a multi-day project, I am sure. There's a lot of work to do here, but we won't get done unless we get started. So let's get to it. Now I may damage this hose just trying to get it off here. I hope not. I intend to put a new hose on it, give it back to him, but give him the old hose as well when I return the extinguisher to him. But it is extremely brittle. It's going to come off without a fight or not. Touch it and it turns to dust. So Mario, I apologize, but I'm definitely going to get you a new hose that's going to work. I was hoping to save this one for you, even though it shouldn't be on here because it's in really bad shape. But let's get this off and we'll go from there. So there we have it, freed from the hose. I have to take a Dremel to get the rest of that off. Put the hose, the old hose aside. Pieces aside for now. And we'll get a Dremel and tackle cleaning that up a bit. There we go. That's all cleaned up. Now we got to figure out how to get all of whatever this was off it. So we're going to start with a little brass brush here. See if that'll work. Funny, it won't come off with the brush, but my fingernail takes it right off. Well, it's coming off slowly, so I'm going to work away at this and we'll catch up again once I get all this stuff off here. Alright, so it's been about 2 hours and I got most of the crud off it, and then I went ahead and gave it a wash with some Comet. So I think that's about it for day one. Next thing we're going to do is start putting it on the buffing wheel and see what color we can make this thing. So stay tuned, and we'll get on to buffing next. That's working, but my grinder is gutless, so I'm going to try something different. I'm hoping my other buffing wheels I already had, buffing discs, are going to fit on here. I do have a number of them. I picked up a new PowerTech heavy duty bench buffer. I was using my bench grinder with a buffing wheel on it, but it continuously stalled out on me. And there's no way I was going to fiddle with that for so long. So let's get started on buffing this thing up, and we'll fast forward probably a good hour or so, and then take a peek at what it looks like after a little bit of work. Alright, so where are we at with the fire extinguisher restoration? I think the last clip I showed you, I was trying out the buffing wheel. It was doing a pretty good job where there was light tarnish only, but there were still a lot of spots on this fire extinguisher that were encrusted or corroded to a point that was a challenge. So I hit pause on that and decided to go back to 2000 grit wet sand, and I've been sanding this extinguisher now for I would say about 3 hours. It's getting close to where I want it to be, so I'm going to wash it off, and then I'll probably try it on the buffing wheel again and just see if that made a difference. I hope so. 3 hours of wet sanding was a lot of work, but at the end of the day I think it's going to be worth it. So stick around, we're going to take this back to the buffing wheels. But looking at where I just did my first pass with the buffer, I can already see the shine starting to come out. So I'm going to give this a lot more work and attention and go over it multiple times, changing the buffing compound as I go. My hope is to get it to a pretty good mirror finish. Now this extinguisher has been knocked around a few times, and I believe it was probably standing up in some sort of metal tray or bracket at some point, because it does have some scratches that come through, some pretty deep scratches when you get it buffed out. They show up a lot. So let's continue with the process, and I'll check back with you in a little bit. But otherwise, so far I'm still happy with the new PowerTech buffing wheel. So here we are, here's the final product after one complete pass, green buffing compound. Now I did take a rag and clean off the buffing compound, but it is nearly a mirror finish. I think if I take this down to white and red buffing compounds, I should be able to get a little bit more shine out of it. Hey everybody, brought it inside for a progress update. The temperature's fallen fast out there in the garage. We actually had snow last night, and it's nearly May here in Kentucky. But wanted to show the progress we made today. So we continued with the wet sanding up to 2000 grit. And then we took it to the buffing wheel with the green buffing compound. Did a complete pass with that. And then simply used a rag and cleaned off the buffing compound that's always left behind. But so far it's starting to take a shine, and I think when we get to the polish stage this thing's going to look pretty good. Now I am having some challenges with the label, getting it completely clean, and I may leave it as is. I don't want to damage it, but you can see there's still some discoloration in there, but we'll keep working at it gently and see how good it comes by the end. But if some's left, I'm going to leave it there, because I rather have patina than ruin the lettering. But that's the update for now, and we'll roll into the next phases. All right, B's and G's, we're back out here in the garage on a rainy Saturday. It's a good day to continue working on the fire extinguisher. We're going to take a break from the main body of the fire extinguisher and take a look at the bits and bobs that go along with it, the cap and the hose connections, etc. And maybe make a little progress on those. So what we got here is a well-used bucket of Evaporust, in which I've been soaking some of those parts. No idea if it'll make a difference, but I figured it's a good place to start. So let's dig them out of there and see what they look like, and then come up with a game plan how we're going to address them. Alright, the first thing we added here was the bottle that was inside wrapped in paper. Not exactly sure how that works, but we'll figure that out at some point. This is the cap. You can definitely see where it was painted red at one point. So we did get some of the gunk and goop off it, but it's still coated much like the main body of the extinguisher was with whatever this black stuff is. Doesn't come off with the brush, comes off with the fingernail. So we'll rinse that up and take a look. What else did we have in here? We've got the two halves, clamshell halves of the top hose connection. And lastly, the nozzle. So let's get these rinsed up and figure out how we're going to clean them. My Pepsi boileth over. You can see that. I think I want to start with this piece, the cap. Let the other one soak for a bit. Looks like they're going to need mostly a wire brush. Yeah, this one's covered with the same crusty black stuff as the extinguisher was. And I'll tell you, I spent an awful lot of time getting that off there. Hopefully this one goes a little faster. Let's get cracking. Ooh, almost looks like I'm bleeding. The paint didn't stay on there very good. Blah. Alright, so we're going to try to use the old gutless grinder with the wire wheel on it to clean up this top cap a little bit more. I pecked away at it, got a lot of the black residue off. I want to see if I can clean it up a little bit more. I don't know if you can see that. It's coming pretty good there. Fairly clean, but obviously it's going to take me a while on the gutless grinder. Also, I don't have it connected down, so I'm going to bolt it to my bench. I'm going to go at this for a little while, and then I'll show you what the results of the wire wheel review will be. So stay tuned. We'll show you this in a little bit. Alright, a little bit of a progress update after the wire wheel. Some nozzle from the end of the hose. Two clamshells from the top of the hose. And of course the top ring that screws onto the tank. It's cleaning up pretty good. I'm liking the way it's coming. I still think I may paint this red though, back to the way it was when I got it. But definitely these would get an additional hand polish before I put them onto the extinguisher and whatnot. So let's continue working away at this. Maybe get this prepped for paint. Test fit a hose, and we'll go from there. We're almost down to the point where it's a whole lot of elbow grease and hand polish, but yeah, we're getting a lot closer. So stay tuned. We'll keep on going. Seems a bit of a shame to cover up all this brass, but that's the way it was. I'm just putting a primer on now. Well, here we go. It's all complete. It took a number of hours, but I think it turned out pretty good. It's not perfect, but once Mario gets it, if he digs it out every couple months and does a polish, I think it'll continue to get better over time. So I was wrestling what to do with the top and whether or not to paint it red like it was prior to me getting it. I really like brass, so I was wrestling with that. And so what I did is I painted a lot of it red, but left the ring that you grab when you pick it up exposed brass. So I do like how that turned out. The replacement hose has the same inside diameter as the original. What that is a high pressure air line. So I got a 10-foot length of that and cut it to length. I think with time that'll straighten out. It came in a coil, so it's a little bit bent. But over time with gravity that should straighten out as well. And Mario, I put the original hose back inside in case you would ever want it. Yeah, so there it is. Project complete. I think it turned out okay. I'm pleased with the results. I wish I could have got the brass placards on the front a little bit cleaner, but I scrubbed those so many times. There's still some stuff left in there, some tarnish that I can't get off, and I don't want to ruin the lettering. So we'll leave it like that, and once Mario polishes it over and over a few times, I think it'll continue to get cleaner. But anyway, that wraps up this episode of Try New Things, where we did a restoration of a copper and bronze antique extinguisher. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Leave some comments below. And yeah, can't wait to try the next restoration. So stay tuned for upcoming videos. Thanks again. Bye-bye.